Melanie here with Vintage Hill Studio. I guess you could say I'm on a butterfly kick, and today I am going to show you how I made this card. I'm so excited about it. It's using a paper napkin and an extra large ephemera that I found at a scrapbooking convention. And I was trying to figure out what to do. Now, I've used the paper napkin in a project before. This happens to be a one-ply napkin from Dollar Tree, so hey, perfect, because you want to make sure when you work with napkins that you're down to one ply, the single ply that has the actual image on there. So then this is that ephemera that I found at a scrapbooking convention, and it has all these beautiful butterflies, including this extra large mama right here. That thing is almost 4 inches by 7 inches. And I wasn't sure how to use it. It would cover up an entire 5 by 7 inch card, so I came up with the idea for this. I'm anxious to share this with you. All right, and then I'll be using these BoBunny stamps as well. This is a little bitty iron I found from Walmart over in the sewing section. It's perfect for crafts, so it doesn't mess up your clothing or anything that you want to iron that is non-craft related. So first you want to place your napkin on top of the parchment paper, and then I've got these little Tealight candles that I found at Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to just take off that little silver foil thing that is underneath and around the Tealight. I could do this with my fingers fairly easily. Just remove that. And then I am going to bring over this little blade that I have. You could use this or a knife or scissors or anything. You just want to create a few little shavings of candle wax. And you're going to do this directly over your paper napkin. Now I'm just working in this one little quadrant down here in the lower right, just kind of sprinkling the shavings here and there over my napkin. You don't have to really fret about whether the shavings are thick or thin. Just try to get thin little shavings, sprinkle them around, that's it. You can't really worry about stuff so much on these projects. It is either going to come out or you're going to punt and figure out what to do next. So I'm just going to distribute these a little more evenly. Now I have my parchment paper behind my napkin, and you can see it is a lot bigger than the size of my napkin, and the reason for this, and also the piece that you're going to put over the top, you want it larger than the little area you're working on, because when you hit this with your iron, that is going to immediately melt that wax, and it's going to ooze and spread out over your napkin. I'll try to zoom in here so you can see this a little more closely. You can see it looks a little bit darker through the parchment paper. This is just protecting your ironing surface underneath and your iron on top. Okay, that's the reason for the 2 pieces of parchment paper. Now, see, can you see this? It's kind of oozing around, moving around a little bit here and there under the iron. You can see, I can tell that my wax has melted. Okay, then I'm going to let that kind of cool to the touch just slightly, and then I'll remove the parchment paper from each side of my napkin, and you can see a little bit of a sheen here to my napkin, and it also is a little stiffer. Now see the bottom right where you can kind of see through there? That's the beauty of using the wax. It kind of makes it translucent, but not quite. So it's like a fancy vellum that you're making yourself actually, but it's a little more heavyweight than vellum. All right, then I have these nested frames, and I'm going to bring over this larger nested frame, and I will choose what area I want to use on my napkin, and then I'm going to run that through my Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine. And this is what is left. All right, beautiful. You can see how that kind of stiffened up that paper napkin a little bit just with the wax. And then I'm going to bring over some of this gold foil cardstock. And again, using that larger frame, I like to line it up on the sides and the bottom so that it is fairly straight when I try to nest the smaller one inside. And the reason I do this is because I am going to cut out a picture frame from this. So when you nest your 2 dies, you're left with a little diameter frame going around the exterior there. So I ran that through my Sizzix Big Shot, and I'll carefully remove this and show you this little picture frame that it makes. Now this is actually going to go around the perimeter of our paper napkin panel over there on the left. And I'm going to sandwich this between the front and back on my card when I get to cut the window out. So this is how I'm going to cut the window out of this card. Now this is a 5 by 7 inch card base. I'm going to wrap that around my cutting plate because I don't want to cut through the front and the back of my card. I only want to cut a window in the front of the card. So here's a little trick about that. Wrap it around the plate. It is only going to cut through that the front part of your card. Running that through my Sizzix Big Shot, and then I will simply remove that from that secondary plate. You see how that only cut the window in the front of the card. That's what you want. Okay, now that is that same die set, but this was the smaller frame that I used on the front of the card. You don't want to use the larger frame because that's the same size as your paper napkin frame panel. Get that? Okay, now before I move on, I'm going to use this BoBunny butterfly set. Now I absolutely love BoBunny. Their stamps are so beautiful and detailed, and I just find myself using this butterfly stamp over and over. So what I'm going to do is ink up a few of these butterflies just using a Versafine Onyx black ink, nothing fancy here, doing a little bit on the inside and the outside, and then I'll bring over my scrap piece of paper, and that will protect my window opening because I don't want to stamp in the middle inside of my card. So just start stamping to your heart's content all the way around the window frame there. I'm not worried about it. Again, I have that scrap piece of paper sandwiched inside my card. So even though I go inside and outside of this card front, I'm not going to get it on my work surface or in the center of the inside of my card. See, just move your little scrap piece of paper around. Give yourself some variations of this stamp. Now I'm using the same butterfly, but different parts of it. The tail, different parts of the wings, maybe just the head. It just adds a lot of interest to your card. And then for good measure, I'm going to use that same stamp and just stamp that down in the lower right corner on the inside of my card. Okay, now we're moving to the fun part. Here is our waxed piece. Now I can tell this is the back because it's got little dots on it from the back side of that paper napkin. Just the texture that came with the napkin the way it was. And I'm putting a very, very thin bead of glue around just the edges because that's going to go in our window here. I'm going to bring over my little scrap piece of paper again and put that in there so I don't get glue on the inside of my card. Press that down, get good adhesion between your paper napkin and the window that we cut out in the card, and then here comes the sandwich between the gold frame and the black frame. I'm going to use the gold on the outside and the black on the inside. Now this is going to do two things. It sets off our paper napkin image, that little paper napkin panel there, and it also provides some extra stability and adhesion to really support that paper napkin that's sitting in the window. So that's why I cut out two frames. Okay, get those pressed down very quickly. And I wanted to see if you could see, it's a little translucent. You can now see through the napkin. There, that shows the light coming through the card from the outside and from the inside. I am just so excited about this. It turned out better than I expected. I love when that happens. Okay, now here's this extra large ephemera I just loved and didn't know what in the world I would do with it. So I'm bringing over my Fiskars paper cutter, and I love using this because it has that little wire down the center as well as the guide for the blade. And so I just cut my butterfly in half, and I decided to set that off to the right and down in the lower corner so as not to cover up my beautiful window pane. And I'm going to add a little glue just along the body and a little portion of the wings. And I'm going to add dimensionals under the other part of the wings that are actually sitting on the card base. Not on the window panel, but on the card base, because I wanted it to pop up just a bit, but not add too much bulk. All right, and there you have it. I hope you can see the dimension on this butterfly. And then to just coordinate with everything, I like to emboss my envelopes, either the back flap or sometimes down the side. So that's what I did with this envelope. Hey, I am so happy you dropped by today. If you are new to the channel, I would love to have you as a new subscriber. If you're a existing subscriber, welcome back. I hope you get inspired by this card. I'm so excited about it. I love the way the light comes through the panel. I loved using the extra large ephemera, and I'm just really happy with the way this card turned out. Hey, if you like this, feel free to leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, ring the notification bell if you want to get notices when I post videos. I try to post once a week. So happy to have you. I hope you're not sick of seeing my butterfly cards, but I have so much fun with them, and I love sharing this with you. Happy crafting, everyone.